Hello, everybody. So right now, this is the OA Wilderness Voyage session. Um, okay. Hi, Jack. All right. So this is the midway session for OA Wilderness Voyage. So hi, my name is Josh Reddick. For the last 3 summers, I have worked at Northern Tier in the summers as a OA foreman. So who better to talk with you guys today about the OA Wilderness Voyage program than myself. Um, so OA Wilderness Voyage was started in 1999. It was the second OA High Adventure program to be started at a National High Adventure base, the first one being OA Trail Crew at Philmont. So Northern Tier is in northern Minnesota, right on the border between Minnesota and Canada. So for those of you who don't know or haven't been there, it's probably very different from the environment you see every day. So for OA Wilderness Voyage participants, they usually come up as an individual, but sometimes you can bring a buddy by all means. When I came up as a participant, I came up with my brother. So it's good to have a familiar face on a sort of trip like that. So the program itself, you're out in the wilderness for 2 whole weeks. Your first week is done by completing service to the Boundary Waters, or if you go through the Canadian Odyssey program, which is also hosted at Northern Tier, you work in Canada. And then the second week, you get to explore with the 7 other brothers from across the country that you came up with and your 2 foremen, wherever you want. So it's really nice. So how many people here have been to Northern Tier? Just say if you have in chat, or if you want to unmute yourself and say. Patrick, okay. Anyone else? John, yeah. Well, awesome, yeah. So the OA High Adventure programs are for youth only. OA Wilderness Voyage and Canadian Odyssey are for OA youth ages 16 to 20. So they can attend any time in between then. Do you guys have any questions, or those of you that have been to Northern Tier, would any of you like to share your experience? Okay, well, I'll share a story that I have. What was that?
I went to start to say something about the opportunity you have to meet airmen from across the country. You know, it's not an organized crew where you know everybody. It's an opportunity for a mystery group of airmen to come together and work for the week and then spend a week having fun. My opportunity, I was actually with the Northeast Region Chief and the National Chief, and that experience offered somebody to run for Section Chief. So the opportunities to get out there with mystery folks and have that fun and that service together is just an amazing opportunity.
Right, absolutely. So on my participant trek, I was just, at the time, I was just a growing airman, wasn't super involved in the order. So you don't have to be involved to be a participant in the program. Um, but I came up with my brother, and I didn't really know what to expect. My scoutmaster had been up to Northern Tier, and he spoke highly of it. So I was like, okay, why not? I'd never been to a high adventure base before then, so Northern Tier was my first experience. Since then, I've been to the summit, but I haven't been to any of the other bases. And uh, when I first got there, I rode up with my parents, and uh, I like got off my parents' car, and these two guys come running up the hill to come greet me and my brother. And apparently we were like late or something, so they were freaking out. They didn't know when we were going to show up. So I guess we caused them a bit of a headache, which is like, but uh, so while you're on base, it all happens pretty quick, it seems like. Um, but once you're out on the water, things start to slow down a lot. Um, so that first morning when we woke up the next day and we started paddling, I wasn't like the strongest paddler, and not many people are when they first come, which is fine. You learn how to paddle because you'll be out there for 2 weeks. Um, so they always say like, "Oh, stop lily dipping," and uh, they just it's just like a motivation, I guess. So by the time we got to our campsite the first night, it was already dark out. The bugs were pretty bad, and uh, from that point on, I was like, "Wow, this is pretty challenging." The first portage was a little hard, I gotta say, but as the trip went on, I got used to portaging, and by the end, I could portage a canoe with the best of them. But the trip for me, I met guys from we had guys on our crew from Texas, from California. Um, we had two section chiefs and one lodge chief on my participant trek, and I still talk to those guys regularly, even though that trip was 5 years ago now. So yeah, let's see if there's any questions. So Luke asked, what kind of service is done during the first week? So it really just depends on what the U.S. Forest Service asks us to do. So the OA Wilderness Voyage program works in conjunction with the Forest Service, and we have like up there we have a liaison that we talk to, and they sort of give us like a trail prescription, and we work off of that. So the work that could be done is mainly rock work. So we would dig a hole or pit and install rock features, and this is to prevent erosion and erosion control, so that the trails can be walked on and uh, maintained for a while, actually. And I'm pretty sure the last time the trails were worked on like consistently was in like the 1930s with the Civilian Conservation Corps, which was brought in with FDR's New Deal. So a lot of these trails haven't really been, I guess, renovated and to such a scale that we do it since then. The next question was from Aaron, and he says, "Are they adding female treks, or will they be co-ed moving forward?" So the treks have the most recent treks have been co-ed. Um, so this past summer, we had only one female participant, but considering all things with COVID and everything, that's a good thing. So yeah. Sean asked, okay. Okay, Sean answered Luke's question. Okay. Yeah. All right. Awesome. So are there any other stories that people would like to share or experiences that you would like to tell about? John, you've got to have a story.
I don't know. The only thing that comes to mind is uh, um, adding on to what I think it was Jack said earlier about the friendships that you make. Um, and yeah, show up in a place you've never been with a bunch of people you've never met, and by the end of it, some of the closest friends you got. I over the summer ran into a buddy of mine that I went on a Wilderness Voyage trek with in 2008, and as soon as we saw each other, it's like we'd never left. You know, just catching up and sharing stories and talking about good times and present times and all of that stuff. And then yeah, just the like natural beauty that's out there. It's a wild place that a lot of people don't get to experience very often. And there's a lot of really cool stuff out there. You know, I've had crews that see moose. I've had crews that see bears. I've had crews that climb up to giant peaks for sunsets. Crews that play around in waterfalls. Crews that get hopelessly lost for days at a time. We try and minimize those, but that's part of the fun and the adventure of it for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you, Sean. So yeah, a lot of advocates for the OA High Adventure programs will encourage you to uh, take up this opportunity. It's generally much less expensive compared to a normal high adventure trek that you would take with your troop. And it's also an alternative to going with your troop because a lot of times I know my troop didn't have like a program where we would go to a high adventure base yearly or however many years. My troop wasn't able to coordinate a trip. So the only way I would have been able to go was through my own fruition, which for me was OA High Adventure. Are there any other questions that you may have about Wilderness Voyage? How much does it cost? So I believe this last year, the registration cost was $200. So that's for a 2-week trip. So not very much at all. I also believe that OA Wilderness Voyage and OA Canadian Odyssey are the cheapest OA High Adventure programs to attend. So they're both only at $200. Of course, there's additional things that you might have to purchase. Like if you go to Canada, you might have to purchase, or you're going to have to buy a passport. And if you don't have the right kind of gear, you'll have to go out and get that. There's travel cost as well, but the registration is only $200. So scholarships are a thing that the section has been talking about doing for a while. But at the moment, our section doesn't have any scholarship. But if you're looking for a scholarship, you can reach out to my email and I can get you in touch with some people or even find somebody that might be able to pay for your registration. I'm linking it down below. So the gear that they recommend, usually it's synthetic stuff that you're gonna wear. But yeah, the most important thing that you're gonna need is is boots with good drainage. Yeah, no waterproof boots. You want boots with good drainage because you do this thing up there that we call wet foot portaging. So instead of just like crashing your boat up against the land and stepping out onto dry shore, you're going to step into the water. So that way you don't damage the boat. So your feet will be wet for most of the day. Yes. Yeah, Sean said a sturdy toothbrush. Yeah, toothbrushing is very important. It's one of the few things you can clean yourself with out there.
Let's not talk about moose muck.
So if you guys want to hear about moose muck, it's just really bad mud, and but bad is a subjective thing because you can make it fun. You can really make it fun. But yeah. All right. Well, that's I believe that's the end of our time slot. But if you guys want to stay on, we can talk for a little more.
See, that's a different thing. Thank you, Josh. We're going to go jump on to the next presentation. If anyone wants to stay on and talk to you about it, they can. Or
Yeah.
they can move on to OA some experience.
All right. Yep.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.